Welcome back to another Creature Commandos breakdown with episode 4. And I'm going to say this right here and right now, justice for Weasel. That weird creature definitely needs to be proven not guilty after this episode, especially with the humans that caused all the problems. However, we'll get to Weasel's backstory because that was very, very eye-opening. Nevertheless, the episode starts off with Rick Flag Sr. leaving the princess and going home. He can't have this relationship, but throughout the episode, you can see that he does care about her in some way, which is very interesting after only meeting for like a day. I guess he just sees this young girl who seems very innocent, who doesn't need to be hurt. During the start of the episode as well, we get a reference to Peacemaker Season 1 again with the alien invasion with Economos, because he references his leg being hurt during stopping an alien invasion, which is exactly what happened in Peacemaker. So it's seeming like actually more and more of the Peacemaker Season 1 is canon. I think the only thing that they won't use as canon, literally the only thing, will be the Justice League showing up at the end, but everything at this moment will be canon. As we keep going in the episode, we get to see Frankenstein is just a jealous ex who's not really an ex because he never actually dated or was with the bride, but instead he's just been stalking her for all these years and also taking down anyone she falls in love with, where he just assumes that because she was talking to Rick Flag Sr. and they were looking at each other, that they were in love, so he had to get his revenge by being this jealousy and being insecure about not having a beard and being a baby face, that Frankenstein really does seem like a child who never grew up. However, that did lead into kind of the fun moment of Frankenstein tracking down Rick Flag and going to his house and having this fight because he's jealous about her falling in love with him and how he's perfect for her and how, you know, just going over all these lovey-dovey things. It was just a funny fight until they realized, wait a second, why are we fighting? I'm not in love with Bride. What's going on? So it's just Frankenstein being like this super delulu, how he thinks that the bride is so in love with him, but you can't accept it yet, referencing a bunch of different love movies and stuff that I did not pick up on. I think it's just funny to show where Frankenstein's coming from. He just seems like a giant baby, but I think that'll grow during the season, where maybe he'll do something to make the bride finally fall in love with him, or he'll finally accept that she'll never love him and he can finally move on with his life. But him and Rick Flag bonding over the princess and bride was pretty fun, and it just seems so out of place. But that's what James Gunn does good, is that he like puts in these out of place scenarios within his movies and shows that just makes you feel like more connected to these weird characters that you wouldn't really feel connected to before. And in this episode too, like I was saying before, we finally got the Weasel backstory, and the thing is, the Weasel backstory was an eye-opener because this man or creature or whatever he is was arrested and was falsely accused of killing those children. His lawyer is trying to get him out of prison because he's not supposed to be there. And I like how they call him John Doe because he doesn't actually have a name. Push heavily that he's wrongly convicted. And then as we go into those flashbacks, we see him, he was just found by the kids, fed by them, and then he was just playing with them. Like, that's all he was. He was just an animal playing with these kids. He wasn't violent. He was nothing wrong. He just was having a good time with these little children, bonding and being like a pet to them. And until this dumb guy who thought he was a werewolf racked him down, when after the Weasel tried to get him away from the kids, shot the freaking gun at a gas tank in the school basement, lighting the fuel on fire from the accidental fire the kids started, and blew up the tank, killing all those kids. Like, this guy was so stupid that he shot at this seemingly monster that wasn't even attacking the children, was just playing with them. Even though the kids weren't terrified whatsoever, he acted rashly and got them all killed. And on top of that, so did the police. They showed up after being called by the lunatic and went into there and just started blasting Weasel as he was carrying a child. The child is still alive. You can see her moving and crying to get help. And you can see these guys just blasting him, like not even paying attention at all. You got stupid human after stupid human who caused the deaths of these children and pinned it all on Weasel. So justice for Weasel, as Weasel did nothing wrong except try to protect his friends at all costs. So Weasel is the true hero here, and we will never forget his name. And I felt so bad for Weasel. He was crying. He tried to save the little girl. The cops got Weasel and left the little girl to die with the building falling on them. They didn't even try to save her. That just shows you how shitty humans are, and we gotta trust the monsters. And I do like how when Weasel was remembering his flashback, you had Nina comforting him when she asked, what do you think he's dreaming about? Because you could kind of tell something was wrong, and it was like this nice touching moment of, again, showing Nina kind of being that heart of the squad. Now, I kind of got ahead of myself, so let's jump back towards Cersei and Waller. Because we have Amanda Waller interrogating Cersei after she was imprisoned, and we find out some pretty big information. First of all, we find out that Cersei was actually trying to save the world from Rosevix because she saw a future of the princess taking over the world, killing all the superheroes. And she shows this vision of Waller, and you know when Waller gets scared, that shit's about to go down, because Waller doesn't get scared easily. And in this vision, we get to see so many heroes dead, but we also get to see a surprising villain that's working with the princess, which most likely means he's not working with the princess, and he's controlling the princess, because that's Gorilla Grodd, one of Flash's rogues who can read and control minds, which most likely means Gorilla Grodd is the one that's going to be starting this apocalypse, so they need to actually stop him and not the princess. But I definitely do feel like Amanda Waller sending the Creature Commandos after the princess is going to set off this apocalypse that's coming, because she's going to feel betrayed by the people that protected her, and she's going to want revenge. And the cool part about seeing Gorilla Grodd in this is that means they're setting up Gorilla Grodd for the future of the DC universe, and we have seen him in live action before with the Flash TV show, so I'm very curious to see what they do with him in the new DCU. Now, during this vision, we see a bunch of heroes. Now, there are some I wasn't able to exactly pull out, but these are the ones I did. We have Wonder Woman with her classic look on, so that's what's going to be her DCU look, is that more classic Wonder Woman comic look, which is absolutely amazing. Of course, we have Superman, and we even have his cape ripped up like it is in the Death of Superman. We get to see Hawkgirl, we get to see Batman, but they conveniently hid his suit because they don't have it yet. We get to see Supergirl with her Woman of Tomorrow suit that she'll be wearing in the movie based on the Woman of Tomorrow comic book. Then we have Robin, which is most likely Damian Wayne, Peacemaker, Vigilante, Mr. Terrific, Booster Gold, and Starfire. So we have a bunch of heroes killed, and they're setting up different teams, what's going on, and who's already in this world, because that's just pretty much setting up the movies and shows that we've already been announced, and they're just teasing us for who we're going to see in the DCU. And during this scene too, we also get a couple references. We get a reference to Hocus Pocus because of the witch going to jail, and then we also have a reference to Star Wars with them talking about Cersei doing Jedi mind tricks on Amanda Waller. We also had the fact that Cersei's not lying because she actually did predict a tsunami hitting Themyscira, and she actually saved some of the Amazons from being killed. So she does do good things, even though she is a villain, and they're kind of teeing her up as someone who's not morally evil because she does want to help the world she lives on. The expert they call in to kind of confirm all of this is named Isla McPherson, and in the comics, she's actually just a teacher at Gotham Academy, so I think they're kind of changing this up where she might actually be someone else in disguise that's more tied to the Amazons, because it doesn't really make sense that they use her name when her name is tied to Gotham and not the Amazons. And I do like in this scene too that Rick Flag isn't really believing in Amazon being an island full of women, even though they know the island is real, they know it exists, so in this universe, they already know it's all there, so it does make me wonder what's going on with Wonder Woman and all that. But I do love his kind of joke, like, why would it doesn't make sense. It would be an island full of women. So it's just kind of fun teeing up that in this world, people still don't really understand what's going on in Themyscira because they're not allowed to go there, but they know it exists. So after Waller switches tune and decides that they're going to kill the princess, she sends Bride and the team back to take her out. Rick Flag runs away because he wants to save the princess and doesn't think she's actually a threat, which could just be him being blind by some kind of love where he doesn't really think it's true. Now, when we're back in the prison, we get to see She-Bat, who is in the comics a wife of Man-Bat. We get to see Kong Gorilla, which in the comics he's actually a hero. He's a man who gets his mind Freaky Friday'd into a gorilla and then ends up being stuck as a gorilla when his body dies with the gorilla minds in his. Now in the comics he's also a hero. He's not actually a villain, so I'm kind of interested why they swapped the alignments, unless he's actually supposed to be a completely different character. I mean, at this point he got his jaw smashed in because of the Bride beating him up for taking Nina's food. I mean, we probably won't be seeing him again. It was just like one of those one-off characters you see, gets his ass beat, and we probably will never see him once again. We also saw Chemo, who's a gigantic monster entirely composed of toxic chemicals and radioactive waste in the comics, which it does look like he is that in this as well. But it seems like everyone's perfectly fine with this radioactive villain just hanging out with them in the cafeteria. And I mean, there's a couple other obscure-looking monster creatures inside the cafeteria. So if you know what they are, because I have zero idea what some of those creatures are. Some of them look semi-familiar, but I was like blanking on the names. Let me know down in the comments because I need a fresh reminder. And I'm also interested in finding out what I don't know. But yeah, that leads us to the end there, as we already talked about Weasel's backstory, which is what the episode ended on. So let me know, were there anything you noticed during this episode that we didn't talk about during the video? Let me know down in the comments and we can discuss. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. Make sure to like and the subscribe button. It helps out the channel a lot, and you get to stay up to date with all my Creature Commando and DC breakdowns. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you next week when we watch another episode of Creature Commandos.